Beat-em-ups are fun, rhythm games are fun, put them together and you get PopSlinger. Unfortunately, there is not always net positive when combining two enjoyable flavors together. This is not exactly a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and is closer to something like bologna banana sandwich, with flies on the side. Hyperbole aside, PopSlinger did have a creative concept behind its miscalculation. The problem was in its execution and insufferable and poorly explained premise. Between the aim for 90s nostalgia and magical girl tropes, there was a possibility for an irreverent action game. Combining brawling with shooting and an emphasis on combos, the recipe for addicting action was there. How did it all go wrong? PopSlinger begins very suddenly and without explanation. Rhea is friends with a holographic curmudgeon named Jin. They are a classic odd couple where Rhea, the player character, is the spunky and energetic one and Jin is the more cold and brooding sarcastic jerk. The relationship between these characters are not explained and the game abruptly begins with them in the middle of a conversation. The rules of the world and what is going on is never shown or explained either, just really inane quirky banter that reads like something out of a webcomic. The setting really needed some exposition to establish the stakes. The heroes claim to be like magical girls, but Rhea's role as a PopSlinger is depicted more like a dirty job, like she's a garbage man. Her role is to exterminate waves of sludge aliens and the once defenders of Earth who are now possessed. PopSlinger's gameplay is very simple but can be very challenging. Rhea can fire her pop gun, move around and has a dodge that leaves her far too exposed. Dodging does have the appropriate iframes, but due to the long cooldown, it becomes more of a liability than anything. Rhea is better off weaving between enemy bullets than using her dodge since dodging will end up getting her hit anyway. This is made worse by the POV being way too close in some sequences where threats fire shots off-screen and the scrunched view does not allow enough reaction time. The funny part is that PopSlinger does have a solution and does have parts where the POV is zoomed far back to give players a wide view of the arena. Getting hit or hitting the incorrect color enemy is a critical blow against the player in their rating. The key to success in PopSlinger is maintaining a combo and killing colored sludge in a sequence. 4 in a row of the same color without getting hit earns Rhea a kill streak bonus so she can perform a special ability. Achieving this is more complex than it seems because enemies can easily swarm Rhea and bullets can cover the arena. It doesn't help that Jin's kill streak abilities that help Rhea don't always work as intended. She can become a turret which often ends up hitting nothing or becoming a second gun which is useless when Rhea earns other weapons later on. PopSlinger's playability feels rough. There is no sensitivity when controlling Rhea, she goes from 0 to 60 with nothing in between. Hitboxes are also very vague and often indeterminable when bullets start flying. The core concept of PopSlinger could have made for a satisfying arcade-style action game. The controls and polish are just nowhere near they ought to be, and this same can be said for the visuals. PopSlinger goes for something that is going for 90s era nostalgia, but it looks nothing like the 90s. Cartoons of this era look nothing like the very Scott Pilgrim-esque 2010 style that the artists used for this game. The art and characters are drawn very flatly and amateurish. Outlines are very plain and lack variance. Poses also are stiff and lack expression. The most creative aspect of the art is the charming use of markers for coloring, which adds some much-needed style to the visuals. At best, PopSlinger can look like a very impressive Newgrounds Flash game. Impressively, the animators took the effort to animate the characters' mouths during the unfunny and overly long cutscenes. The writers thought their material was hilarious because these scenes go on for a while. The only thing harder than fighting the urge to skip all cutscenes is fighting bosses. It isn't bad enough that bosses have unreasonably high amounts of HP, losing to them means having to replay the entire level again. No checkpoint before the battle, every stage has to be done in one go. This becomes extra annoying because stages are not really that challenging, only bosses put up a real fight. They spawn more enemies mid-battle and their purpose is not just to hurt Rhea, but also be fodder for her to build up that kill streak ability.